Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 video for Kill Team, where today I'm going to review the Elder Corsair Voidscarred Kill Team for, well, Kill Team. Before I get into things, thanks to Games Workshop for providing this for me to review early for free. And as always, I aim to be honest, constructively critical and impartial. But yeah, before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe, as well as comment what you think of this video, as well as what you'd like to see in the future, because this is a new thing I've done with Warhammer Underworlds, but I'm basically, instead of just reviewing the box in a one massive video, broken it down. So I've got the Corsairs, then I've got the box, and then I've got obviously the Chaos. So let me know what you think of this change. But yeah, I'll go into the narrative first briefly. So basically the Corsairs are effectively Eldar who have abandoned, either were from like the Drukhari, Comorra, Elder Craftworlds, or even the Harlequins, and are just living their lives of pirates and lawlessly being able to do whatever they want whenever they want, not having to abide to any rules, not really having to answer to anyone. So it's the ultimate life of freedom with the ultimate risk and reward for an Eldar being. So they effectively merge all parts of Elder society into one place, although they fluctuate between being good and bad. So even though they may be all of one type, they're not really the best or the worst to be around. So I'll go over the Kill Team rules first. So I'll go over their Tac Ops, because I think the Tac Ops are the best place to start, because it gives you a good feeling for the Kill Team. And I would say with the Corsair Tac Ops, they're very thematic in terms of they're like a win more kind of thing, like how you should play as pirates, because you're obviously going to win. So for Tac Op 1, you have Flawless Raid, which is if you've scored more victory points at the start of the... if you have more victory points than your opponent at the start of the turning point, you score 1 victory point. And if you do it at the start of a subsequent turning point, you score another victory point. But you can only reveal this target, this Tac Op in any reveal step after the second. So you can actually only reveal this in turning point 3. Because, oh dear, I don't think Flawless Raid is that good anymore, because it can only be revealed not after turning point 1, but after the target reveal step of the turning point after the second. So yeah, it's very risky because it's a late game turning point, and by that time, not only do you need to be ahead on the primary, you need to be ahead with your other Tac Ops. And when you're locked out from scoring a Tac Op based on your total VP score, I don't think you'll take Flawless Raid. Unless you're going like, I'm going against a Compendium Kill Team. It's a shame it doesn't work after the first turning point. So you can't reveal it on your first turning point. But it seems a very, very nerfed Tac Op. Next you have Soul Guard, which is Tac Op 2. You have to reveal it in the first turning point of your target reveal step. Each time a friendly Corsair is incapacitated before it's removed from the kill zone, you place 1 Spirit Stone tokens underneath the operative as close as possible to the center of the base. You can then perform a pickup action upon your Spirit Stone tokens by friendly Corsair units. Operatives can only carry a number of operatives can carry any number of Spirit Stone tokens, and your Spirit Stone tokens can be picked up by friendly operatives, while within engagement range of enemy operatives. At the end of the battle, if no operatives have been incapacitated, you score 2 VP. But if you're carrying at least half of your Spirit Stone tokens, you score 1 VP. No mention on halves, so I guess it's just you have to be carrying more than half. If you have like odd numbers. And then at the end of the battle, if friendly operatives are carrying all your Spirit Stone tokens, you score an additional VP. So it's an interesting one, but once again, it's kind of like you're hoping you don't die, or you only have 1 or 2 operatives die, which is really optimistic, which kind of leans into the win more category. Because once again, this is effectively an end game Tac Op, like Flawless Raid. So yeah. And then finally you have Opportunists, which is faction Tac Op 3. So you have to reveal this in the first turning point. Select 3 enemy operatives. Each time one of those operatives is incapacitated before it's removed from the kill zone, place one of your loot tokens underneath the operatives as close as possible to the center of the base. The pickup action then can be performed on loot tokens by your friendly operatives. You can carry any number of loot tokens. If you're carrying 1 or more loot tokens, you score 1 VP. And if you're carrying 3 of your loot tokens, you score an additional 1. So this is the Tac Op that I think interests me the most, because after your opponent has deployed, you go, these are the 3 operatives I want to kill. And the thing is, it's a weird thing because your opponent go, I'm just going to keep them back. But let's say they're playing melee, right? And they've gone, these are my melee operatives, or these are my 4 deployed operatives. You're going to go, cool. Now they're really easy for me to kill and hard for you to protect. And your opponent can't really play around it unless they're just sitting at the back of the board, which is kind of going to cost them the game anyway on most missions. So I think this is probably the one you always take. But the interesting thing about Soul Guard and Opportunists, there's no mention on the size of the tokens. I assume they want you to use the tokens you have at the back from the Kill Team Corsair, which can be any miscellaneous ones. But it just would have been nice if they were defined, because you could argue that you could use 40 mil tokens, but that's just a minor thing. But yeah, the best Kill Team Tac Op here is Tac Op 3, and I think the worst is Tac Op 1, with Tac Op 2 slightly behind because it's very situational. For the Kill Team archetype as a whole, you are either Recon or Seek and Destroy, which isn't the best combination, I'm going to say, but Recon fits along with Seek and Destroy, and at least you've got that nice choice if you're going to go in like full for the kill, although I don't really like Seek and Destroy as an archetype as a whole because it's quite swingy. But you have a leader, which is your Felarch, who can either have a Shuriken rifle, pistol and power weapon, or a Neuro Disruptor and power weapon. Then you've got 8 Corsairs, which you can pick from. You've got your warrior equipped with a pistol and power weapon, or a Shuriken rifle, a Shuriken pistol, and fists. Then you've got your gunner, who can have a blaster or shredder, a heavy gunner, who can have a Shuriken cannon or Wraith cannon. Then you've got your Starstorm duelist, your Knight Hunter, your Shade Runner, your Kanathi, your Fate Dealer, your Wayseeker, and your Soul Weaver. And notably, you can only have 1 gunner or heavy gunner, not both. So, I'll go over the abilities as well. So you have Eldari Raiders. So every time this operative activates, they can perform a free dash action during that activation. And the only problem here is you still can't charge and dash or dash and charge, but it's some nice free mobility because you're kind of pseudo APL free. But I think the biggest problem with this kill team is your 8 operatives, and you can only have 1 really good ranged gunner, which you'll see. But I'll go over that in a bit. So you have psychic powers, because you can take a psyker, and your caster can just cast a psychic power by spending an action point. They can cast again, but you roll a dice. On a 1 to 2, the operative suffers 3 mortal wounds. On a 3-up, you select another psychic power from that list below to be resolved. So you got Lightning Strike, which is a 4 dice, hitting on 3's 4/5 AP1, a shooting attack, which is pretty good. Then you've got Warding Shield, which gives an operative within red and visible a 3-up invulnerable save, which is also really good. You've got Freezing Grasp, which is okay. It selects an operative visible to this operative until the end of the turning point. Subtract white from the enemy operative's movement, and it cannot perform the dash action. And this is probably really threatening because it doesn't have a range limitation. And say an opponent is going to run with an objective or to the point, you've now effectively limited what that operative can do. And then you've got Warp Fold, where you select a friendly operative within red and is visible. That operative and this operative both drop any objective markers they're carrying. Notice it says objective markers, not like mission action stuff. Then they swap positions. So you remove them and set them back in their new positions, which will take, like, you will have to mark it with dice and then move them around. But the biggest utility with this is moving your stuff with the heavy trait into position, so they just immediately can shoot. So you've actually got a lot of choice, and I think generally what you're going to be doing is warp folding someone up onto the point, like to shoot, and then using Warding Shield to give them a 3-up invuln if they're like a gunner or heavy gunner, or even going Warding Shield and Lightning Strike. And as you'll see, you will always want to cast 2 powers even with that risk, but I'll get to that in a moment. Then we've got strategic ploys and tactical ploys. So the strategic ploys are plunderers. So you select up to 3 operatives. They can perform a dash action during a strategic phase. When doing so, if the mission you are playing has objectives markers that are not being carried by operatives, each selected operative must end their dash action closer to the nearest objective marker. So it's a very limited dash thing, unless you're playing the mission where you can pick up objectives and someone's carrying an objective where you just get 3 dashes in any direction, but that's only 1 mission out of 9. So it's still great to have. You just have to remember that it's very limited in where you can actually go. Then you have Rapid Strike. So each time a friendly operative fights in combat, if your attacker is not ready, you can select one of your normal hits to be trained as a crit, which is okay. It punishes stuff that's already been activated, but if you're outnumbered, it's kind of rough. Then you've got Outcasts. So each time a friendly Voidscarred operative fights in combat or makes a shooting attack, in the roll attack dice step of that combat or shooting attack, if it has more than red from friendly operatives, you can retain any critical hits, and you can select one of your failed hits. If you retain any critical hits, you can select one of your failed hits to be retained as a successful normal hit. So if you're out on your own, you can technically become more accurate, which I can kind of see when you're out like near the end of the game, but it's situational. Maybe kind of useful for your gunners, like just up on vantage points, but not too great. And then you've got Aldari Agility, which I think is probably the worst one. So until the end of the turning point, each time a friendly operative is activated, it can use its Aldari Agility. If it does so, it cannot perform fight or shoot actions, but each time it dashes, fallbacks, or moves, it can move an extra black for its movement. So, I don't know. I think not shooting is fine, but not being able to do crazy charges is a bit unfortunate. So I don't think it's that great. Then for the tactical ploys, you've got opportunistic fighters, which is really situational. When an enemy operative performs a fallback action before it moves, that enemy operative suffers D3 mortal wounds for each Corsair within engagement range of it, which kind of locks stuff in combat, which is you may not actually want to do. Then you've got light fingers. So use this tactical ploy during a friendly Voidscarred Corsair's operatives activation. Until the end of that activation, they can perform for free either one mission action or a pickup action, even if it is within engagement range of enemy operatives. So the notable thing, it just makes these actions free instead of -1. So you get around anyone doing like, oh, it costs +1 to do mission actions. So that's very, very useful, especially when you could do pick up, move, dash, shoot. Then you've got Deadly Ambush. Use this after an enemy operative finishes an action in which it moved, so even a charge, dash, or move. So you can then immediately charge with a friendly Corsair, but they have to do it, they can only move up to blue and must finish with an engagement range. So you can kind of like charge block people, but you have to be careful who you charge block. So it's something your opponent needs to be aware of. And then you got one step ahead. So until the user's tactical ploy at the end of the initiative phase of the first turning point, you can redeploy up to 2 friendly operatives, but they must be set up wholly within your drop zone and cannot change their order. But you can change their order. So I'm torn on one step ahead. It's not actually a redeploy, but the way it works is, I think the greatest thing is you can redeploy them and change their order. So you're actually probably playing this to change their order. Let's say you've baited someone out by going with engage, and then you like redeploy them, change it to conceal, or your opponent deploys someone far forward, then you realize you're going first, so then you redeploy, and because you do after the initiative phase of the first turning point, so you can redeploy someone and then give them engage. It's good, but I would have preferred something more far deployed, because you can only use it once, like for deploying. It's still good. It kind of covers for you messing up your deployment, but more importantly, you can change the orders. So I'm kind of torn on it, but it's still a solid selection of ploys overall. So for the operatives, everything's kind of in a weird order again. So you've got your normal warrior, which can either have a pistol or power weapon or shuriken rifle. They all have the action, which is take aim. So for 1 action point, until the end of this activation, your shuriken rifle gains the balance special rule, but you cannot perform it if you're within blue of an enemy operative. Their move 3 white, 2 APL, 4 up save, and 8 wounds. But I think you would always just go power weapon and pistols, because the shuriken rifle is fine, it's just not great. Next, you've got your gunner, who can either have a blaster or shredder, and each are really great, because your blaster is something you'd always take against elite operatives, because it's an unlimited melter range. It's 5/6 AP2, 4 dice. Then you've got your shredder, which is great against Horde kill teams, so stuff like Vet Guard, and even Pathfinders, because it's 5 dice, blast white, doing 3/4 damage. And because the blast is so huge with 5 dice, you're going to murder anything bunched up. Like, such a good operative with the gunner, very flexible, and I would always include both options on your roster. Then you've got the heavy gunner, who I feel suffers too much, and I think you would have been fine being taken into addition of the gunner, because the problem is all its guns have heavy, and there is no way around that. They both have heavy and unwieldy. I thought the shuriken cannon would probably just be heavy and have a way to, like, you know, a suspension system so it can move and shoot. But like the shuriken cannon's 5 dice hit on freeze, 4/5, fusillade, heavy, unwieldy, and rending. It has no AP. I just wouldn't take it. Then you've got the Wraith Cannon, which is 4 dice, hit on freeze, 6/3 with mortal wounds 4, AP2 heavy, unwieldy. So both cost 2 AP to fire. You can dash and shoot, but you may warp fold, then hope you get a 3-up in on them and have them shoot. But I think the gunner is just more useful because the gunner can just move and shoot far more easily and can go like dash, shoot, move back away. Whereas this guy is just going to dash, shoot, and pray it lives. So you're probably activating it last. So not great. Then you've got the duelist, who has a fusion pistol and a shuriken pistol. Has quick on the trigger, so it can perform the pistol barrage and shoot action while with engagement range of enemy operatives. If it does, you can only select enemies operatives within engagement range as the targets, and pistol barrage. When making a shooting attack with the fusion pistol, make a shooting attack with the shuriken pistols as operatives equipped with in any order. This is treated as a shoot action, and you cannot perform this while you have a conceal order, because I guess they realized in testing you could. But effectively, because the pistol kind of, you pray, finishes it off anything the fusion pistol doesn't kill, because that's basically what it does. So, and the problem is it's range blue for the fusion pistol. So, like, he's great, right? Like literally, but he's kind of probably die in return. So he moves into someone's face, goes, fusion pistol, and then goes, if you're not dead, oh, please, shuriken pistol work as well. It's weird. It's fine, like really good, but just has some flaws. And you got the Voidscarred Kernite Hunter. The thing everyone thought was going to be broken is actually quite bad. So it's got a shuriken pistol and power weapon, and then the bird. So you select one enemy operative with a conceal order that is visible and roll a d6, adding 1 for the following. If the operative is within red, if the enemy operative is not ready, and that enemy operative is not within black of heavy cover. On a 6+ until the end of the turning point, your friendly operatives consider that operative as if it has an engage order, and you cannot perform this while engaged. So the biggest problem is, generally you're going to be doing this on someone who is activated and is not within heavy cover. So you're working on a 4-up. If you're within red, you're working on it works on a 3-up, but you're probably going to lose your Kernite Hunter in response. And the worst thing is, you could move within red and then it fail. And it, like, you still always take it, but the problem is, your opponent is like sweating every time you roll, and you're like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this bird, because you're like, you have to plan as if it's not going to work. So you either activate him like 2nd or 3rd after someone's activated, but it's just so weird. I think if it was on a 5-up, I don't know. It's a powerful ability, but because it's generally going to be triggering on a 4-up, I'm not even sure if you take this operative. I think you still do, just because of the chance when it goes off, but it's very tough because, as I said, if you're using this, you have to play as if it's going to fail, but your opponent is just going to be like, oh my gosh. Then you've got the Shade Runner. So the key thing is it has fly, but also has shuriken pistols, throwing blades, which are silent, and then Hekatari blades, which are 3/5, lethal 5-up, relentless. And it has fly because there's a warp jump generator. So it has a unique action slicing attack. So you perform a free normal move. Select one enemy operative you moved with engagement range during that move. Roll 1 dice as if you were fighting in combat, and you can be rerolled as a result of the relentless. Then if it's successful, you can immediately strike the enemy operative. So effectively, you can move, hit someone, and keep on going. The entire problem with this is, as per a normal move action, you cannot move within engagement range of an enemy operative. So I already fired off an FAQ question. But assuming you are, because I think that's the intention, you're hoping you do 5 damage while running through someone, where it's probably just better to charge them. So It's mixed, but the key utility of this operative is it has fly. So you can just do whatever you want with this because of fly. So that's why the Voidscarred is so cool. Then you've got the Kurnathi, which is wasn't really shown off, but has 2 power swords and a shuriken pistol. And the problem with the power swords is they're only 4 dice, hitting on 3s with 4/6, lethal 5 and relentless, but would have likely 5 attacks. Because like even the sorcerers are 5 attacks, and other similar operatives are 5 attacks. I think 4 dice really limits this operative, because all you're gaining is just relentless. So your bladed stance, each time this operative fights in combat, you can resolve one of your successful hits before the attacker. If you do so, it must be used as a parry. And notably, it doesn't even have like the lethal riposte rule of like the novitiate. So if it parries you, it does damage. So, you know, it's in a weird spot. It's still good. It's just you always want to attack first. Then you've got the Fate Dealer, who is your sniper rifle person. Your Ranger long rifle is 4 attacks in on 2s, 3/3, heavy, silent with mortal wounds 3. And the problem with this is if they gave it the heavy trait, it should have been AP1. Because it doesn't have AP, it should have just been silent. Because the entire problem with this is you're going to have to dash or sacrifice a turn of shooting. Really should have not had heavy. But then you've got the camo cloak. So if you're in cover, you can retain 1 additional dice for saving. And you can also take aim with this. So you could warp fold and then take aim and shoot. But I'm not sure you'd take this against elite kill teams and probably just take a normal dude because you'd get more usage because the sniper rifle is, sure, it has a 50% chance to do 3 mortal wounds. And it might hit with all 4 dice. Well, that's 6 damage where you could probably get more usage out of a normal guy running about doing objectives. Then you've got your Psyker, the Way Seeker. So it just has a Shuriken Pistol and Witch Staff, which is 3/5, 4 attacks, and then it can do Psychic Powers, and it can do up to twice per activation. Can't do it while in engagement range. I think pretty much covered its Psychic Powers. Then you've got the Soul Weaver, who has got a power weapon somewhere, and a Shuriken Pistol, so it's pretty threatening. So it has 2 psychic actions. It can either Soul Channel for 1 AP to give 1 friendly operative within red and visible 1 AP. And then you can Soul Heal. So you can do this psychic action twice. So notably it's a psychic action. So if anything negates it, you can stop it. But you get to regenerate D3 wounds and you can do that up to twice. And it's also your medic. So it's really, she's actually really useful. Really cool. Then you've got your leader, the Fell Arch, who's 9 wounds and can either have a Shuriken Pistol or Neurodisruptor and a power weapon, or a Shuriken Rifle. I thought about going Shuriken Rifle and power weapon, but you probably go with the Neurodisruptor just because you're hitting on 2s, it's AP1. You have a 50% chance of causing stun, so they're -1 APL. Can take aim, but you just want more AP1 for shooting. And the cool thing is it has coordinated strike. So each time this operative is activated, you can select 1 ready friendly Corsair operative within blue and visible. And after this operative's activation ends, you can activate that friendly operative. So you've got some nice chaining there, which is pretty cool. Although you are an elite kill team effectively, but it's a nice way to get some dual activation out of the kill team. Then you've got equipment, which is not great. So you've got your Diurnal Mantle, which is only effective against stuff with Torrent and Blast. So you get +1 save. So you've probably never run this. Your Plasma Grenades are now 3 equipment points, probably for balance reasons, which is nice to see, but I would have liked them at 2, considering this kill team. But it's 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 3/4, blast, and indirect limited. So they're still great. You've got your Corsair Blade, which is fine. 3 attacks, 3 ups, 3/4. You've got your Ocular Scanner. An operative can use this and you can only take it once. And for their shooting attacks, they have no cover. Probably wouldn't take. Maybe on one of your gunners, but I don't think it's that useful. Then you've got Runes of Protection. So for 2 equipment points, this operative gains the following ability, Runes of Protection. So in the roll defense dice, if you were attacked by a psychic power, you can reroll any of your defense dice. So you're only taking this against other Voidscarred or like Warp Coven. Then you've got the Mist Field, which is on your Fellark. So friendly operatives within white of this operative have a 5-up invulnerable save, which is fine, but I don't really like bunching up. So probably pass on this. Then you've got the Lodestar Helm, and not what I thought, the Lone Star. because Spaceballs. But I'm probably going to call it the Lone Star Helm. So you put on your Psyker, and effectively, when it rolls a 1 to 2, it doesn't give you mortal wounds, but it still counts as a fail. So you always take this, because it basically goes, I'm always going to roll for 2 psychic powers. Then you've got the Pathfinder Cloak, which is probably the reason why you take the Pathfinder, because it gives it permanent conceal. So they can't ignore your conceal order unless they're within white of you. So you can go, haha, Pathfinders, but then they'll probably like melter bomb you. But Pathfinder Cloak, pretty good. Then you've got your usual narrative selection of stuff with like spec op rules, some battle honors, rare equipment, and strategic assets. So everything you need to play narrative games with the Corsairs. So overall, this kill team is too balanced, which is still weird. And the problem is they're too balanced is because I feel as I've mentioned in my main review, the physical release game has caught up to the White Dwarf balance. So I feel the White Dwarf kill teams were written after, especially after Chalnaf. Because you can tell, compared to the Chalnaf kill teams, these kill teams are, like, the Void Reavers are a lot more balanced. And I feel like the fact there are only 9 operatives really sucks. I think if they could take the Heavy Gunner and an additional operative, or even just take the Heavy Gunner as well, I think they would have been fine. Because the Heavy Gunner has no way to move and shoot, is very unwieldy, and is effectively a piece you sacrifice, and I'm not sure you really take. And it kind of limits the range output of this kill team, because you effectively have your Gunner, who you're always going to take probably with a blaster, and I guess your leader with the Neuro Pistol and your Fusion Pistol guy. Then you've got your Psyker, but you're probably going to use your Psyker for like teleporting and buffing operatives instead of shooting. So you're actually decent in melee, and you have a lot of tricks. Everything is very thematic, but it's too balanced. And the problem is when you've got kill teams like Novitiates, but more so Pathfinders and Harlequins, while those 2 kill teams may be free, depending on what happens to the last 2 I just mentioned, if they're not toned down in power, then you're going to have this weird thing where it definitely shows there's no power creep. These kill teams are still good. Like, this kill team is very thematic, plays exactly how a pirate kill team should for Eldar. Just really balanced. So for like my pros and cons, this is a really balanced kill team. It does have some strength and tricks. They're pseudo APL free, so you're always going to get that free dash action. They can do neat stuff like mission actions for free. You have a lot of mobility. You still have some good like tricks with your operatives. A lot of stuff to do, amazing miniatures, and a really thematic kill team. It plays exactly like pirates should. For the cons, suffers that it's a 9 operative kill team, and you can't mix and match gunners. Personally, I think you should have been able to take 10 operatives in total with the Heavy Gunner, or even just 10 operatives, one or the other, or both. And yeah, it just struggles for ranged output. You know, it's just too, and this is only a temporary con. While Pathfinders and Harlequins are unnerfed, this kill team's going to struggle, because it will struggle into Pathfinders and Harlequins. Maybe Novitiates, probably, because Novitiates will outnumber you and they have fate dice. And I think Commandos will be a real struggle for this kill team as well. But it's not unwinnable, and I say it's only a temporary thing, because if they end up toning down Pathfinders and Harlequins, and then probably eventually after those 2 Novitiates, then I think this, like, going forward, this will be great, because everything will be around the same power level, and it will just come down to who plays better. But that's pretty much it. It's a really balanced kill team, great miniatures, very balanced, and like even then my cons are very minor. It only comes down to, not even if you're like hyper competitive, it just comes down more to a balance thing, which is just not set in stone and can change. But I think this is the great kill team. Miniatures look amazing. As I said, you can even have like all helmeted heads or like unhelmeted heads, but I'd probably go with the helmeted heads. Even though they look more Drukhari, they're still a mix of both Elder cultures. Yeah, it's just fun, really fun. Can't wait to kind of like win more with everything. And if it goes wrong, I'm just going to run away for another day. But if it goes well, it's just as planned, like your typical amazing Eldar pilot pirate. And if you're interested in buying what I've been talking about today, you can check out my affiliate link in the episode description below to Element Games. It'll net you about a 20% discount while being at no additional cost to yourself and helping to support myself and the channel. So feel free if you're in the UK and I think Europe, if you want to check out for a nice discount while, helping to support me. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Please remember to like and subscribe and comment. Let me know what you think of these individual looks at kill teams when they come out for launch. I may go back and do some kill teams I haven't visited this way before, and continue doing this going forward. But I'd be really interested to hear what you think. And as I said, I've also done this one for the Chaos Space Marine kill teams. And if you haven't watched, I've done a full video on the Nachmund box, which you can check out. So until next time, remember, unless you're a flawless Elder pirate pillaging the stars, remember, even you can sometimes roll a crit.